Hi everyone, delonewolf here, and welcome to the Sunday recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a little bit about what I did in the last week or so. And as always, we'll start with EVE Online. I think I've played a little bit less than average EVE Online. I thought I'd get a big bump up with Shadow of the Serpent, but checking it out, I have to be honest. I think my major problem with Shadow of the Serpent is that you see a lot of sites that are basically useless if they're not on your list to do. And so that's something that I don't like. Also a big problem is that if you want to check for the reward or something like that, you'll end up on Reddit or somewhere where the calculation is actually done that it's basically a waste of time. The rewards are not worth the time you need to spend to actually get all those points together, and that all of that basically doesn't help people stay motivated to keep grinding away at Shadow of the Serpent. So what I did do is a little bit of mining, still keeping my blueprint copy business up to date. That's actually been going surprisingly well. We took a definite dive in the last 2 weeks or so, where I just wasn't selling any of the blueprint copies except for the Astraus itself. And so my contracts were actually lapsing after 2 weeks. But now I found the right price range and a bit of a better spread, I guess, of the type of blueprint copies that I'm selling, and so it's actually coming back a little bit. I'm actually making some more money from the blueprint copy business. From the mining, I've basically followed my own advice from the EVE talk from yesterday, and I've actually been selling a bit of Mixalon because Mixalon in fact is one of those that I do mine a lot more than I actually need for the production that I'm doing at the moment. And so I had a decent stock of Mixalon ready for sale, and personally I don't think it's gonna stay that high for very long anymore, so I actually made my move there and I sold my Mixalon. And I also completed my investments in the tactical destroyers, so now I have some of the Kaldari and some of the Amar tactical destroyers ready, about $500 million in investment in each. And it's just, I'm picking those up at around 40 million ISK. It's all a matter of just keeping an eye on them, especially towards the winter. I think if something changes in the tech tree world, then those could be really good investments, but they're definitely very long term. And I also bought an extra Plex at 900 million because of the sale. You can easily pick them up below that price at the moment, and so that puts me at 17 once again. I haven't recalculated my average, but I think I'm pretty much ready for the winter to try and make some money on the plexus if they do indeed increase in price as I'm expecting. That's still something that we'll need to keep an eye on, of course. That's never certain, but yeah, that's basically the investments and the EVE Online that I've been playing. It's been mostly just a little bit of mining production and then keeping an eye on my assets, putting my ISK where my mouth is, and taking the positions that I want when it comes to the winter, because during the summer honestly activity does decrease in general a little bit, and that tends to be the right time to make some purchases if you find the right product. So that's what I've been doing basically. Next up, Overwatch. At first I was just doing a couple more quick plays, but last week Blizzard also came out with a ranked mode. So at first there were some problems with that. So I do always try to keep an eye on subreddits of games as well. And it was obvious that some calculations were going wrong in a certain game type. That was definitely detrimental to some players and to the advantage of other players. So I waited for my placement matches until yesterday. I did them yesterday, and it was 4 wins, 6 losses. So I'm obviously a little bit below average when it comes to my FPS skills at the moment, but I'm ranked 44, and the biggest surprise to me here is that this was actually enjoyable to me. So I definitely like the quick play. It's very casual, something you can jump in and out of whenever you want for very short periods of time. But ranked is always like a step up from that, right? A little bit less casual. You need to spend some more time. There's more pressure. There's also a little bit more toxicity in the community at that point as well, because people do feel like there's something on the line when they're playing ranked. But here in Overwatch, doing those 10 placement matches was actually a pretty pleasant experience. So there is a bit more pressure. You're doing your best a little bit more. but it's not like it was terrible or anything like that. So I still enjoyed these placement matches. Honestly, quick play is always basically over at the end of the match, and you can get out of that whenever you want. When it comes to ranked, you have to commit a little bit more, but if a match drags out for a long period of time, it means that you're decently evenly matched, and that actually makes for some very entertaining and fun matches where well, your skills or a good burst, the right ultimate at the right time can actually help your team get that victory. And if you have to go more rounds, honestly, I feel like it's not that bad. The sudden death mechanic is probably not optimal, because at some point you do end up in like a defense or offensive position, and that on some maps it can really be a great disadvantage for one of those positions. But if you actually get to that point, that means you actually have a pretty damn even match, and that must have been a pretty fun experience. At least the ones that I've experienced there, when it did come to a sudden death, was actually yeah, pretty damn good. Very, very nice matches to play in, and yeah, with decently balanced teams, no people doing completely crazy things and things like that. In my later placement matches, this is something that I should mention. We did get like a little bit of leaving that started to happen, where we ended up with like 4 players or 5 versus 5 one time as well. So it's not optimal just yet, but the experience is actually still casual enough that I can see myself play some ranked and maybe try to earn a bit of one extra reward or something like that, being definitely less than average when it comes to skills in Overwatch at the moment. But pretty damn fun. So if you haven't bought Overwatch yet, or if you maybe hesitate about playing it, honestly, I think you'll get your hours out of that, no problem. And now with ranked, if you want to go a bit more hardcore, you've got that option as well. Next game that I've played a decent amount of, it's Fallout 4. I actually managed to build myself up to level 54, I think it is. So at this point, I'm almost ready to make one of those really good power armor suits. So you can actually upgrade those up to like a rank, I'm not sure what it is exactly, 6 possibly. But for that you of course also need the armor perk at 4 and all of that stuff. So I'm starting to get ready basically for the final DLC part. But I've been building up my Minutemen, so I've taken the castle as well. The Brother of Steel made their entrance after I killed Skellock, and so at this point it's just a little bit more management, a little bit more getting ready, grind out a few more levels to really be powerful enough and ready. I've gotten some interesting legendary weapons as well that I think are pretty damn cool. But yeah, Fallout 4, I'm still playing that game. It's a lot of fun for a single player experience. Honestly, it's really a sandbox world. It's fun to build up the settlements the way you want, to build up the faction that you're supporting the way you want, which, well, it's of course the Minutemen. If you want to do a lot of building, that's who you want to go for. But now taking the castle, I'm gonna have to bring that in line with the rest of my defenses, and especially what I like are all of the connections that you can make between your settlements. So at first it was mostly guys in robot armor with miniguns that roam around the safer part, the lower level part of the Commonwealth, and if they come across some raiders, they just mow them down. It's pretty cool to watch. And then as we get further away from Sanctuary, from the safe part of the Commonwealth, I'm actually starting to use some of those robots from the robot expansion, from the Mechanist expansion, I think it's called. And yeah, I make those really big sentry bots with missile launchers and something like a Gatling laser in the other hand, full armored, fully packed, like they're definitely something that could be moving goods from one place to another, being caravan related. And watching those guys roam around is really cool as well. They're very powerful. They can put out a lot of firepower all of a sudden. So that's basically what I've been doing, building up the Minutemen. And more and more I do get the feeling that if you do this right, and if you invest enough into getting your settlers the right weapons, the right gear, the right grenades, everything that they need, and then you work with the connections between all of the settlements in the right way, you can actually secure your places very easily. So one thing that I've noticed is that the amount of attacks on the Star Drive Inn, I think it's called, so it's one of the really early settlements that you can get a little bit underneath Sanctuary. There were constantly attacks from under a bridge really close by, so you could always just watch them. Okay, we have super mutants again, we've got those robot guys again, and you could just start sniping them off, putting some defenses. It's not easy to difficult to counter. It's in fact a good farming option, but once you put a few of those guys on connections between your settlements, and you start going around that, it actually diminishes the amount of attacks, because your caravans constantly actually take out all of those guys as well. So that's been going really nicely. Couple more levels, maybe a few more weeks, I think, and then I think I'll be ready to jump into the final DLC. And then finally, the Steam sales. I actually did not check the Steam sales last week. Maybe a bad thing, maybe a good thing. Honestly, what I'm blaming mostly is my real life job. It's actually still really busy there, so every time I come home I get more and more tired as the week continues, and so I basically just never felt like, all right, you know what, maybe I want to see if there's another game I can pick up. My week is pretty damn filled, and if I don't have the energy at the end of the day, I just never got to checking the Steam sales. But let's take a quick look here, maybe at the top sellers. So you get Grand Theft Auto 40% off. Personally, I don't think I've ever played a Grand Theft Auto game, maybe one of them, so it's just not a series that I've gotten into just yet, but they are of course pretty damn good games, and top seller at the moment, so that must mean something. Doom at 40% off. It could be okay if you want to play it right away. Personally, I think I'll be patient, and I'm aiming for a Doom at 50% or better, so it's probably gonna be during the next Steam sales. Why? 36 euros is still, I think, a little bit much for a game where I'm only planning to really go through the campaign maybe once or twice, and I don't think I'll have any focus on the multiplayer experience. So drop that to 30 euros or less, and then I think I'll get my values worth there. But 40%, it is of course an extremely new game, so if you want to pick it up at 40%, I certainly don't blame you, but personally I'm holding off until it drops to 50% or better, which I think is going to be during the next Steam sales. The Witcher 3, 50% off, 25 euros. I think if you're looking for an RPG experience, that's going to be pretty much a no-brainer to pick this up. Extremely good reviews that I've seen on The Witcher 3, and getting 24 hours, 25 hours of gameplay in that game should be absolutely no problem whatsoever. But personally, I'm not jumping on that just yet, just because I know I don't have the time to play The Witcher at the moment. Dead by Daylight, not sure what that game is about. So I can't really tell you much. Fallout 4, 50% off for 30 euros. Personally, I think I would wait for a definitive edition if you're planning to pick it up on the cheap, because the DLCs are worth it and they do add a lot to the game world, like with all the robots, the parts, all the updates to what you can build, and the final DLC, which I've yet to check. So if you absolutely want to play the game right now, sure, you can pick it up at 50%, but if you can be patient in the least, then maybe you should wait for a final edition with everything included. Ark, some of my friends are playing Ark at the moment, but again, that's a time problem. But for $15.39 for a sandbox experience, I actually think that could be worth it if you want to jump in here. 45% off. Counter-Strike Go, I already have that, but I think almost everyone will now watches this video. Stardew Valley, not sure what that's about. Rise of the Tomb Raider. Rocket League, 12 euros. If you're looking for another fast-paced action experience, that's something completely different. That could definitely be something you want to jump in. At the moment, I'm guessing that Overwatch is scratching that itch for me personally. And here, Shadow of Mordor, I actually hesitated a little bit when I first saw this. 75% off of the Game of the Year edition, only 10 euros for basically Game of the Year of Shadow of Mordor. I think when it came out, out, it was a bit of like a surprise hit. People were surprised at how good it was, how polished it was, and so this is something that if you want to purchase this now, because you can pick it up 75% off, it is a Game of the Year edition, and just to maybe play it later, it's something I'm considering myself, just to have it in the library, to have it ready to jump into Shadow of Mordor. This is like a no-brainer price for the game itself. Civ 5, 92% off, should also be a no-brainer, but I have that already. Bioshock triple pack. I already have Bioshock, Dragon's Dogma, not sure what that is, Dying Light, The Following, really not sure what that is, and then we've got Subnautica, which I don't know either. But yeah, there are definitely a couple of games. If you're looking for something to play, I think there are a lot of categories that can be filled here. Doom, I think, makes the recent game with surprisingly good reviews for the campaign, and already at a decent discount. That's something you can jump into. The Witcher 3, looking for an RPG that is decently recent, that's definitely going to be worth your money, it's right there. And then finally, if you're looking for that one game to get in your library for later on, Shadow of Mordor Game of the Year edition, I think is what I would jump on, because just €10 for that, I think should absolutely be worth it. Anyways, that's going to be it for this Sunday recap then, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.